What if the relationships you build today could shape your entire future? What if the people you let into your life could either propel you toward greatness or hold you back from becoming who you are truly meant to be? Think about it. We all want meaningful connections, deep relationships that are not just surface level. We want people who see us, who understand us, who help us grow. Yet so many of us fall short in building these kinds of relationships. We settle for convenience. We choose comfort over courage. But what if, just like the Stoics, we could approach relationships differently, intentionally, wisely, and with a deeper sense of purpose? Imagine waking up every day knowing that the people around you, the ones you trust, are there not just because they like you, but because they see your true self, the raw, unfiltered version of you. What if you could cultivate relationships that inspire you to become the best version of yourself every single day? That's the kind of connection that can change your life. It's the kind of connection the Stoics mastered, and you can too. The Stoics understood something profound. Relationships are not just about what we get from others, but about who we become in the process. They knew that in order to build relationships that truly matter, you first need to know who you are. Most of us go through life searching for validation or affection without first understanding what it means to truly know and be at peace with ourselves. We often give parts of ourselves away to others, not realizing that those very pieces, when lost, leave us feeling empty, lost, or unfulfilled. But the Stoics weren't interested in chasing after approval. Instead, they focused on inner strength, on mastering themselves, and from that place of deep self-awareness, they built relationships that were grounded in respect, honesty, and shared wisdom. The key to deep relationships lies in a truth many of us are afraid to face. If you don't know who you are, you will never know who you can truly connect with. So, where do you begin? The Stoics would tell you to start with self-awareness. It's about understanding your values, your desires, your fears, and even your weaknesses. It's not enough to simply ask, "What do I want?" You need to dive deeper and ask, "Who am I when no one is watching?" Only when you understand yourself at that level can you begin to build the kind of relationships that will stand the test of time. But here's the powerful part. Once you truly know yourself, you attract others who will value the real you, not the mask you wear, not the person you think others want you to be. You draw in those who will push you to grow, challenge you to think differently, and support you when life gets tough. And that's where true transformation happens. When you connect with others from a place of authenticity, the bond you create isn't based on superficial things. It's rooted in mutual respect and trust. Those are the kinds of connections that last. So, what does this mean for you? If you want to build deep, meaningful relationships that will change the course of your life, you have to begin with the most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. And that journey of self-discovery doesn't happen overnight. It requires time, reflection, and courage. But the reward is worth it. By understanding your own values, knowing what truly matters to you, you will begin to attract and nurture relationships that elevate your life. Relationships that challenge you to grow, that support you in ways you never imagined, and that will be there for you when the world feels like it's falling apart. Stay with me because this journey is just beginning, and the wisdom of the Stoics will show you exactly how to create relationships that not only survive, but thrive. They'll guide you toward building a life of connection, strength, and meaningful impact. Once you begin to know yourself, the next step is to build the courage to connect with others, not just on a superficial level, but deeply, authentically. The Stoics understood this truth. It's not enough to know who you are. You must be willing to show up and allow others to see who you really are too. This isn't about perfection. It's about vulnerability. And vulnerability is not weakness. It's the greatest strength we can have in our relationships. It is the bridge that connects us to others in a meaningful way. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we allow others to see our true selves, not the polished, filtered version we present to the world. But vulnerability requires trust. Trust in ourselves first and trust in others second. The Stoics believe that our relationships should be based on this trust. Trust that others will understand, respect, and support us. It's not a trust that comes easily, but it's the foundation upon which strong, lasting relationships are built. When we open ourselves up and share our truths, our fears, our weaknesses, our dreams, we invite others to do the same. And in that exchange, we create something rare and powerful: connection. This is where the real magic happens. When you step into the world fully yourself without fear of judgment or rejection, you create space for others to do the same. This is the key to finding those who will walk with you through life's challenges, those who will help you grow in ways you never thought possible. But you can only find these people if you are willing to be real, raw, and unguarded. The Stoics didn't shy away from their own emotions. They embraced them, processed them, and then moved forward with wisdom and purpose. They showed us that we don't have to hide who we are to be loved, respected, or appreciated. In fact, it's the opposite. The more authentic we are, the deeper our connections become. And while vulnerability is a powerful tool, the Stoics also knew that we must not allow ourselves to be ruled by our emotions. There's a delicate balance to maintain. Being open doesn't mean giving up your inner peace or losing yourself in another person. The Stoics taught that we must love and care for others without becoming dependent on them. This is where true strength lies, in loving others freely without clinging to them. It's in giving love without the expectation of receiving it in return, knowing that our value is not determined by others' actions or opinions. When you can love and connect without neediness or attachment, that's when relationships become powerful. When you bring your full self into your relationships, free of expectation, and yet full of compassion, something incredible happens. You inspire others to do the same. You create a ripple effect of honesty, trust, and deep connection. And as those around you begin to open up, you discover the true power of vulnerability, not as a risk, but as a doorway to deeper intimacy and personal growth. Relationships like these don't come from playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. They come from showing up truly as you are. And when you give others that gift of authenticity, you allow them to see you in a way that most people never experience. It's not always easy. At times, it may feel safer to hide behind walls, to protect yourself from the potential hurt that comes with being truly known. But the Stoics showed us that, in the end, we are only limiting ourselves when we hide. The greatest growth, the deepest connections, and the richest experiences come when we risk being seen in our entirety. This is the gift that the Stoics left us, the wisdom that, in being vulnerable, we become invincible. Not because we are immune to pain or rejection, but because we learn to stand strong, rooted in who we are, no matter what the world throws at us. As you start to build these deep, authentic relationships, you'll begin to feel a shift inside of you. You'll feel more connected, more grounded, more alive. These aren't just relationships in the traditional sense. They're partnerships in growth, in wisdom, and in life. And once you experience this kind of connection, this kind of deep, unwavering support, it changes everything. It changes how you see the world. It changes how you see yourself. And most importantly, it changes how you approach every new relationship that comes your way, with openness, with courage, with the unwavering belief that the deeper you connect, the more you grow. As you deepen your connections, one thing becomes abundantly clear. To truly build lasting, meaningful relationships, you must also learn the art of detachment. This doesn't mean walking away from people or disconnecting from them emotionally. It means releasing the unhealthy attachments that can tie us down, cloud our judgment, and ultimately harm the very relationships we are trying to cultivate. The Stoics knew that attachment is a double-edged sword. It's natural to care deeply for others, But when we become overly dependent on their approval, affection, or presence, we begin to lose our sense of self. And in losing ourselves, we lose the ability to truly connect. Detachment doesn't come from a place of indifference or coldness, it comes from a place of inner peace and strength. The Stoics believed that true freedom lies in our ability to give without expecting anything in return, to love without demanding anything, and to engage without becoming ensnared by the outcome. It's about loving people as they are, not as we want them to be. It's about building relationships that are free from manipulation, control, or the fear of loss. This type of freedom allows us to show up fully, with open hearts and minds, knowing that we are complete and whole on our own, regardless of what anyone else says or does. When we practice detachment, we are no longer prisoners of our emotions. We are no longer swayed by every fluctuation in someone else's behavior. We don't allow others to control our happiness because we realize that our happiness comes from within. This doesn't make us distant or cold, it makes us stable, grounded, and resilient. It's this stability that allows us to connect with others in a way that is rooted in trust, respect, and mutual growth. It's not about avoiding emotions, it's about mastering them, so that we can experience the fullness of connection without the heaviness of dependency. Think about the people in your life who truly support you, who cheer you on, challenge you, and hold you accountable. Those are the people who give you space to be who you are. They don't need you to change, to prove yourself, or to show up in any particular way. They accept you for exactly who you are, flaws and all. These are the relationships that elevate us. And these relationships thrive because they are not bound by fear, possessiveness, or need. They thrive because both people are free, free to be themselves, free to grow, and free to love without constraints. This is the power of detachment. It allows us to show up fully without fear of rejection or loss. It gives us the courage to let go of people who are not meant for our journey, and it strengthens the relationships that truly matter. The Stoics knew that, in order to build a life of peace and wisdom, we had to learn to let go of the things that we can't control. This includes the actions of others. By releasing the need for validation, approval, or even the constant presence of others, we free ourselves to give love, energy, and care from a place of abundance, not scarcity. When we let go of attachment, we also let go of resentment. We stop expecting others to meet our every need, and we stop holding them responsible for our emotional state. Instead, we start showing up with a full heart, knowing that we can give without expecting, and we can receive without clinging. This is the ultimate freedom, and it's only when we reach this level of emotional mastery that we can experience the depth of connection that the Stoics believed is possible for every human being. True relationships are not based on need. They are based on mutual respect, shared growth, and the willingness to allow each other to be who we are, with all our imperfections and contradictions. When we approach relationships from this place, we build something that lasts, something that is not easily broken by circumstances, time, or distance, because in the end, the relationships that are built on the foundation of detachment are the ones that can withstand the toughest storms and emerge even stronger. The freedom to love without attachment is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself, but there's another crucial element that the Stoics understood: empathy. It's one thing to detach and protect your inner peace, but it's another to truly understand, feel, and connect with the emotions of others. Empathy allows us to connect with people at the deepest level. It allows us to see beyond their actions and into the core of their being. The Stoics believe that true connection comes when we recognize the shared humanity in others, when we step outside of ourselves and understand the struggles, joys, fears, and dreams of the people around us. We create a bond that is unshakable. Empathy isn't just about feeling sorry for someone or sympathizing with their pain. It's about understanding their perspective, seeing the world through their eyes, experiencing their emotions without judgment, and giving them space to be who they are. This is not easy. It requires a level of emotional maturity and self-awareness that most people shy away from. But it's also the key to building relationships that are truly meaningful. When you can listen to someone, not just with your ears, but with your heart, you open the door to deep, transformative connection. It's through this kind of listening that we learn the true depths of others' experiences, and in doing so, we learn to love them in ways we never thought possible. The Stoics understood that empathy is not just an emotional response, it's a conscious, intentional practice. It's about choosing, in every moment, to set aside your own judgments, your own needs, and your own perspective, to be fully present with someone else. When you can do this, when you can truly see someone for who they are, you create a relationship that is grounded in understanding. And it's this understanding that allows you to support each other, to grow together, and to weather the storms of life with resilience and strength. But empathy also teaches us something incredibly important. The more we understand others, the more we understand ourselves. When you listen deeply to another person's struggles or triumphs, you begin to recognize pieces of your own story in theirs. The Stoics believe that all humans share certain universal experiences: pain, joy, love, loss, and by acknowledging these common threads, we bridge the gap between ourselves and others. In this way, empathy is not just about connecting with others, it's also about deepening your own self-awareness. It's about realizing that, in the grand scheme of things, we are all walking a similar path, just with different shoes. And in that realization, we find the strength to love more fully, to forgive more easily, and to give more generously. Empathy doesn't mean you have to agree with everything someone says or does. It doesn't mean you have to accept toxic behavior or allow others to walk all over you. It means that, despite the differences, despite the imperfections, you can still see the humanity in others and extend compassion. You understand that every person has their own battles, their own story, and that we are all doing the best we can with what we have. When you approach relationships with this mindset, you cultivate a depth of connection that is rare and precious. It's the kind of connection that nourishes your soul and helps you grow. And the beauty of empathy is that it's a practice, not a one-time effort. Every day, every interaction is an opportunity to deepen your understanding and to show up for others with kindness, patience, and an open heart. The more you practice empathy, the more you begin to see the world through the eyes of others, and the more deeply you can connect with the people who matter most to you. This is how relationships transform, not through grand gestures, but through the quiet, consistent act of seeing and understanding the people around you. And in return, these relationships will nourish you, teach you, and push you to become the best version of yourself. As you continue on this journey, remember this: deep, meaningful relationships don't just happen. They are cultivated with intention, patience, and a willingness to give without expectation. They are built on the foundation of self-awareness, detachment, and empathy. And when you embrace these principles, you open yourself to a world of connection that is richer, deeper, and more fulfilling than anything you've ever known. These are the relationships that will change you. These are the relationships that will transform your life. As you embrace the power of empathy and cultivate deeper connections, a powerful shift begins to unfold within you. You'll start to notice something incredibly important. True strength doesn't come from closing yourself off or protecting yourself from the world. It comes from the courage to open up, to face the vulnerability of connection, and to fully engage with life's challenges. The Stoics knew that the ultimate form of personal power is not control over others or situations, but control over ourselves, the ability to respond to life's circumstances with wisdom, patience, and clarity. This is where the wisdom of emotional resilience becomes essential. Life will never stop testing you. There will always be moments of pain, disappointment, and hardship. The Stoics didn't promise a life without struggle. Instead, they taught us how to respond when the world around us feels like it's falling apart. Resilience is not about avoiding pain or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about facing it head on and learning how to rise above it. It's about understanding that While we cannot control the events that come our way, we can control how we respond to them. And in this response lies our greatest power. Emotional resilience is the ability to stand strong in the face of adversity, to remain grounded when everything around you seems uncertain. It's about understanding that suffering is a natural part of life, but it doesn't define us. When we face challenges, we have a choice. We can let them break us, or we can allow them to shape us into something stronger. The Stoics embraced this principle fully. They didn't shy away from hardship, they welcomed it as an opportunity for growth. They believed that every difficulty, every obstacle could be used as a stepping stone toward greater wisdom, strength, and inner peace. This mindset is not easy to adopt. It requires deep self-awareness and an unshakable belief in your ability to overcome whatever life throws at you. But when you choose to respond to adversity with wisdom, patience, and grace, you create a foundation for yourself that nothing can destroy. You become unbreakable, not because you avoid pain, but because you have learned to navigate through it with purpose and determination. The key to emotional resilience lies in acceptance. You can't change the past and you can't control the future, but you can control how you engage with the present. When you accept the things you cannot change and focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, and your mindset, you unlock a deep well of strength within you. This strength is rooted in the understanding that you are not defined by your circumstances, but by how you respond to them. This is the Stoic way, to meet life head-on with courage and grace, knowing that the challenges you face are not obstacles, but opportunities to grow. When you approach relationships from this place of emotional resilience, something beautiful happens. You begin to show up not as someone who is fragile, afraid of being hurt, or looking for validation, but as someone who is steady, grounded, and secure in who they are. You stop relying on others to fulfill your emotional needs, and instead you become a source of strength for those around you. And when you show up in relationships with this kind of strength, this inner peace and emotional resilience, you give others the permission to do the same. You create a ripple effect of growth, healing, and mutual respect. This is the power of building relationships from a place of emotional resilience. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't need to have all the answers. But when you approach life and relationships with the belief that you can weather any storm, you become someone who not only survives, but thrives. And it's through this resilience that you form connections that are not just meaningful, but transformative. These are the kinds of relationships that will help you become the best version of yourself and, in turn, help others do the same. They are the relationships that stand the test of time, that push you to grow, and that inspire you to live a life full of courage, wisdom, and love. As you begin to embody resilience in your life, you will notice a remarkable shift. The world around you may not change, but your response to it will. This shift is where the true power of Stoic wisdom lies. It's not in waiting for the world to be perfect, for people to act how we want them to act, or for circumstances to align just right. The power is in realizing that your internal state is the one thing you can control. And when you take full ownership of that power, you transform not just yourself, but your relationships and your entire life. The Stoics understood that the true measure of a person's strength isn't how they behave when everything is going well. It's how they handle the challenges, the obstacles, the disappointments, and the losses. Life doesn't always play out how we want it to. People let us down, plans fall apart, dreams shatter. But it is in these moments of hardship, when everything seems uncertain, that your character is truly tested. This is the moment when you decide, will I rise or will I fall? Will I continue to move forward with strength, or will I allow myself to be consumed by bitterness, anger, or fear? The choice is always yours. Embracing this choice means you stop giving away your power to external circumstances. You stop waiting for the approval of others, the perfect situation, or the right time. You realize that your ability to stay steady, to keep moving forward, to maintain your peace is far more powerful than anything the world can throw at you. You can't control the actions of others, but you can control how you respond. You can't always prevent hardships, but you can choose how you will face them. And with each choice, you build the life you want. A life defined not by what happens to you, but by how you react to it. This inner strength doesn't just come from thinking positive or pretending everything is fine. It comes from acknowledging your pain, your fears, and your vulnerabilities, and choosing to move forward anyway. It's about recognizing that your value isn't determined by the opinions or actions of others, and that your happiness doesn't depend on external circumstances. When you live from this place, your relationships begin to shift as well. You stop seeking approval or validation, and you start showing up with authenticity, confidence, and emotional stability. This gives others the permission to do the same. And this is where the magic happens. When you operate from a place of inner strength, you attract people who resonate with that same energy. You draw in those who are looking for real connection, not just superficial interactions. You begin to build relationships that are grounded in mutual respect, shared growth, and emotional maturity. These are the relationships that help you become the person you are meant to be. The people who enter your life now won't come because you need them, but because you are already whole on your own. They will come because they are looking for the same kind of strength, the same kind of authenticity, the same kind of love. And when you embrace this approach to relationships, when you let go of the need for external validation and choose to show up fully as your authentic self, something profound happens. You create a space for others to grow too. When you lead with your own inner strength, you give others the permission to rise up alongside you. You stop being the person who needs to be rescued, and instead, you become the person who can help others rise. Your relationships become vehicles for transformation, not just for you, but for everyone involved. In this space, vulnerability and strength coexist. Empathy and resilience coexist. You don't have to be perfect to form deep, meaningful relationships. You just have to be real and to stand firm in who you are. The Stoics knew that when you can maintain your inner peace and emotional clarity, you can face any storm with courage. And when you can navigate life with this kind of wisdom, your relationships will naturally deepen. You won't have to try to force them to be meaningful, they simply will be. They will be meaningful because they are built on authenticity, emotional strength, and a shared commitment to growth. And in this space of deep connection, you will find not only the strength to face life's challenges, but the joy and fulfillment that comes from truly loving and being loved for who you are. When you begin to live from this place of inner strength, the world outside starts to reflect that change. The people around you start to show up differently. The relationships you build become more solid, more meaningful, and more fulfilling. The Stoics taught that our external reality is shaped by our internal state. When we are at peace with ourselves, when we understand our own worth, we no longer seek to manipulate, control, or force things into existence. Instead, we allow life to unfold naturally. We trust the process, knowing that the right people and experiences will come at the right time. This shift in perception allows you to see the world not as something to be conquered, but as a place for growth and connection. You no longer view other people as obstacles or competitors, but as companions on the same journey. When you stop fearing rejection, failure, or loss, you open yourself to the beauty of true connection. No longer do you approach relationships with the anxiety of needing to be perfect, to be validated, or to constantly prove your worth. You approach them with the peace that comes from knowing you are enough, exactly as you are. And in that space of peace, the most beautiful, authentic connections emerge. What happens when you show up in your relationships with this mindset is profound. You stop seeking to be rescued or to find fulfillment in others. Instead, you show up fully as your true self, offering your energy, your love, your support without expectation. This is what the Stoics called being present. It's not about what you can get from someone else, but about what you can give, how you can contribute, how you can show up as the best version of yourself in that moment. It's through this presence, this authenticity, that you build relationships that are rich, supportive, and lasting. When you are no longer attached to the outcome of a relationship, when you are no longer clinging to the need for validation or approval, you free yourself and others. You stop holding people to impossible standards or expecting them to fulfill all of your emotional needs. Instead, you allow them to be who they are, and in doing so, you give them the freedom to show up as their true selves as well. The relationships that result from this mindset are grounded in respect, mutual growth, and a shared commitment to self-awareness. You'll begin to realize that relationships aren't meant to be perfect. They are meant to be real, messy, and transformative. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that true connection comes from being vulnerable, from showing up authentically, and from allowing others to do the same. This doesn't mean you won't experience pain or disappointment, but it does mean that you'll be better equipped to navigate those feelings with strength and grace. When you embrace this deeper way of connecting, you stop holding on to the fear of being hurt. Instead, you allow yourself to experience life fully, without the constant need for control or the weight of emotional baggage. This is the foundation of all the relationships you want to build. Relationships that are rooted in presence, vulnerability, and emotional freedom. You stop seeking perfection and you start embracing what is real. This shift in perspective doesn't just change how you view the people in your life, it changes how you view yourself. You realize that your value doesn't come from what you do, or what you have, or what others think of you. It comes from within. And when you embrace this truth, when you truly know your worth, you give others the permission to do the same. The relationships that form from this place of deep self-awareness are the ones that endure. They are built on a foundation of mutual respect, trust, and understanding. They are not based on fear, attachment, or need. They are based on love, not the kind of love that demands, but the kind of love that gives, that nurtures, and that allows both people to grow and evolve. These relationships are the ones that will shape you into the person you are meant to be. And these are the relationships that will last, because they are not dependent on circumstances, but on the strength and authenticity of the individuals involved. When you begin to operate from a place of true emotional freedom, something extraordinary happens. You stop measuring your worth by external standards. You stop relying on approval, validation, or external success to define who you are. The Stoics understood that real happiness comes from living in alignment with your true self, not from the fleeting praise or success that others can offer. When you truly grasp this, when you internalize it, it shifts everything. You stop chasing validation from the world, and you start living for your own fulfillment, your own purpose. This is when you become unstoppable. The beauty of this realization is that when you live authentically and align with your inner truth, you no longer need to chase relationships or external accomplishments to feel whole. You stop seeking external validation and instead cultivate a deep sense of inner peace. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself or detach from others. On the contrary, it means you show up for them more fully. You offer your love, support, and energy freely because you're not expecting anything in return. This shifting from need to giving, changes everything about how you connect with others. It's through this shift that you learn the true essence of reciprocity in relationships. The Stoics taught that everything in life is interconnected. The energy you put out into the world comes back to you in some form. When you stop focusing on what you can get, and instead focus on what you can give, you create the dynamic of mutual growth. Your relationships stop being transactional and instead become deeply reciprocal exchanges of support, love, and growth. When both people bring their whole selves into the relationship without expectations or demands, that connection becomes something truly powerful. It becomes something that nurtures, strengthens, and transforms both parties. You also begin to realize that by cultivating this inner peace and authenticity, you become a magnet for the people who align with your values and purpose. You no longer attract those who need fixing or those who are simply looking for something from you. Instead, you attract people who are walking the same path, people who are ready to give and receive in equal measure, people who want to grow alongside you, not just take from you. This is the beauty of relationships built on authenticity and emotional freedom. They are not about what you can extract from one another, but about what you can create together. You also become deeply aware of the importance of boundaries. When you have a clear sense of self, a deep understanding of your values, and an unwavering sense of purpose, you naturally begin to protect your energy. You stop allowing toxic relationships to drain you, and instead focus on the relationships that nourish you. Boundaries are not walls, they are the lines you draw to protect your inner peace, to honor your worth, and to ensure that the energy you give is respected and reciprocated. You will find that when you honor your boundaries, people respect them, and those who don't are not meant to be in your life. This is a powerful realization. The more you align with your authentic self, the more you naturally attract people who respect, honor, and value your energy. The beauty of this process is that as you grow, your relationships grow with you. They deepen, they evolve. They are no longer bound by past wounds or expectations, but are instead built on a foundation of mutual understanding, respect, and shared growth. Each connection, each moment of true emotional exchange becomes a reminder that you are walking the path of transformation, not just for yourself, but for everyone you encounter. This is how the Stoics found and built deep relationships, not through attachment, control, or need, but through inner strength, emotional freedom, and unwavering authenticity. The relationships you build from this place are the ones that matter the most. They are the ones that transform you and help you transform others, and they are the ones that stand the test of time because they are grounded in the truth of who you are and the truth of who they are. These are the relationships that will shape your life in ways you never imagined. And it all starts with one simple truth. When you stop seeking validation and start living for your own purpose, everything falls into place. As you continue this journey of embracing your inner strength, you begin to notice something profound. The way you interact with the world shifts. Your sense of self-worth no longer relies on external recognition. You stop seeking approval from others, and instead you start seeking alignment with your own truth. You realize that your deepest fulfillment doesn't come from accolades or accomplishments, but from living authentically and showing up fully in your relationships, in your work, and in your own life. This shift in perspective is where true freedom lies. You begin to understand that emotional independence is not about isolation, but about strength. It's about having the courage to stand in your own truth without fear of judgment, rejection, or failure. The Stoics taught that happiness isn't something you get from others, but something you cultivate within yourself. When you are truly aligned with your purpose and values, no external force can shake your peace. No criticism, no failure, no mistake can define you. You know who you are and what you stand for, and that becomes the foundation of every action you take and every relationship you build. This understanding is transformative. It's not just about feeling good in your own skin. It's about recognizing that your worth has nothing to do with what you do, what you have, or how others see you. Your worth is inherent, constant, and unshakable. This realization allows you to stop playing small, stop hiding behind fears of not being enough. You step into your power, and in doing so, you open the door to relationships that are based on truth, love, and mutual respect, not on need or dependence. When you're emotionally independent, you stop putting pressure on others to meet your emotional needs. You stop expecting them to complete you or fix your problems. Instead, you show up as a whole person, offering your love, your support, and your energy freely. This creates a completely different dynamic in relationships. It becomes a dance of mutual giving, a shared space of growth, support, and understanding. No longer are you trying to control the relationship or manipulate it into what you think it should be. You simply allow it to flow, knowing that the right people will align with your energy and the wrong ones will naturally fall away. The Stoics believed that the only thing within our control is our response to life's circumstances. When you embody this mindset, you realize that no matter what happens around you, whether you face success or failure, joy or pain, rejection or acceptance, you have the power to choose how you respond. You can choose to react with grace, patience, and understanding. You can choose to rise above the challenges, knowing that they are opportunities for growth and self-discovery. When you adopt this mindset, you stop letting external events dictate your emotional state. You learn to navigate through life's ups and downs with strength and wisdom, grounded in your own truth. This strength, this emotional independence, creates a sense of freedom that is unparalleled. You are no longer a prisoner to your fears, your insecurities, or the opinions of others. You no longer feel the need to hide behind a facade or wear a mask. You simply show up as yourself, authentic and unapologetic. And when you do this, you create a magnetic energy that attracts the people, opportunities, and experiences that align with your true self. You stop wasting time and energy on relationships that drain you or hold you back. You stop seeking validation from people who don't see your worth. Instead, you start attracting those who resonate with your energy, who appreciate you for who you truly are, and who are ready to walk alongside you on your journey of growth. This is how deep, meaningful relationships are built. Not by chasing, not by forcing, but by simply showing up fully, authentically, and without fear. When you do this, you create connections that are strong, lasting, and transformative. These relationships are not dependent on external circumstances or superficial validation. They are built on trust, respect, and the shared commitment to growth. They are the relationships that will stand the test of time, and they are the relationships that will shape you into the person you are meant to become. And in the end, these are the only relationships that truly matter, the ones that allow you to grow, evolve, and live in alignment with your truest self. As you move forward, embracing this newfound inner strength and emotional freedom, you begin to see the world through a different lens. The weight of needing to prove yourself or constantly seek external validation begins to fade. You realize that true power lies in the ability to remain steadfast and calm, no matter what life throws at you. This peace, this unshakable inner peace, is the key to building deep and lasting relationships. When you are grounded in who you are, when you are free from the need for approval, your relationships can finally be built on solid ground. The people around you can sense this change. They begin to feel your authenticity, your emotional depth, your unwavering sense of self. They stop seeing you as someone who needs fixing or constant attention. Instead, they see you as someone who stands firm, yet is open, compassionate, and fully present. This is the essence of what the Stoics taught. Emotional freedom isn't about closing yourself off from others, but about showing up as your true self, unaffected by the constant push and pull of the world. When you live from this place, you stop chasing after fleeting connections and start nurturing relationships that are genuine, real, and deeply fulfilling. This shift allows you to embrace vulnerability, not as weakness, but as strength. Vulnerability, when approached with courage, creates a bridge between you and others. It allows you to open up and share your true self, free from the fear of judgment or rejection. When you embrace your vulnerability, you invite others to do the same. This deepens the connection between you and those around you. It creates a space where both people can be honest, raw, and real without fear of criticism or betrayal. Relationships that are built on vulnerability become the foundation for deep trust and understanding. They allow both people to grow together, to evolve, and to become stronger versions of themselves. As you cultivate this authenticity in your life, you also begin to understand the importance of alignment. You stop compromising your values, your purpose, or your emotional well-being to appease others. You no longer tolerate relationships that drain your energy or ask you to be someone you're not. Instead, you attract people who respect and align with your values, who support your growth, and who encourage you to continue moving forward on your path. The more you align with your true self, the more you naturally attract those who are in harmony with your energy. You stop wasting time on relationships that don't serve you, and instead you pour your energy into those that bring you joy, growth, and mutual respect. This alignment is not just about others, it's also about your own life. You begin to make decisions from a place of deep knowing. You no longer let fear or doubt control your choices. You trust your instincts, your values, and your inner wisdom to guide you. This trust in yourself allows you to navigate life with confidence and clarity. You begin to feel more in control of your own destiny, knowing that you have the strength and resilience to face any challenge that comes your way. You stop letting life happen to you, and instead you start actively shaping the life you want. As you continue on this journey, you realize that true transformation comes from the inside out. The more you focus on your own growth and self-awareness, the more your external world reflects that change. You begin to attract relationships that are rooted in authenticity and mutual respect. You stop seeking validation from others, and instead, you start giving it to yourself. This self-validation becomes the foundation for all of your interactions. You no longer need others to confirm your worth because you already know it. You have become the person you were always meant to be, strong, authentic, and deeply connected to your own truth. With each step you take on this path, you begin to see the power of emotional freedom. The more you let go of the need to control outcomes, the more you open yourself to true connection. You stop living in fear of rejection, failure, or loss. You embrace life fully, knowing that every person, every experience is part of your growth. This is the life the Stoics lived, a life free from the shackles of external validation and fear, a life rooted in deep inner peace and authenticity. And as you embrace this way of being, you will find that your relationships, those that matter most, become more profound, more fulfilling, and more lasting. When you begin to see relationships as a reflection of your own inner state, something incredible happens. You stop blaming others for the way things are. You stop pointing fingers, waiting for someone to change, or trying to fix what is outside of you. Instead, you turn inward. You understand that every relationship, every interaction, is a mirror for your own growth. If something isn't working, it's not because of what the other person is doing. It's a signal for you to look deeper within yourself, to examine your beliefs, your triggers, and your expectations. This shift in perspective is liberating because it takes you out of the victim mindset and places you firmly in the driver's seat of your own life. You realize that you are the common denominator in every relationship, and that means you hold the power to transform them. This transformation begins with self-awareness. The more you understand yourself, the more you understand your fears, your desires, your insecurities, the more equipped you are to handle relationships with grace and wisdom. The Stoics understood that we cannot control others, but we can control how we respond to them. By cultivating emotional intelligence, you stop reacting from a place of pain or fear, and instead, you respond from a place of clarity and inner peace. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or ignore your needs. It means you express them in a way that honors both yourself and the other person, creating a space where both can grow and thrive. This level of self-awareness allows you to approach every relationship with an open heart, free from expectations or attachment. You no longer seek to control or manipulate outcomes. Instead, you learn to trust the process and let go of any need for immediate results. Relationships that are built on genuine connection, trust, and mutual respect take time to develop. They are not born out of desperation or fear, but out of a shared desire to grow and evolve together. When you approach relationships from this mindset, you free yourself from the burden of needing to make things work. Instead, you allow things to unfold naturally, trusting that the right relationships will stay and the wrong ones will fall away. This trust in the process is not passive. It's an active choice to let go of the need for control. You stop attaching your happiness to the success of any particular relationship. You realize that true happiness comes from within, from knowing that you are enough, with or without anyone else. This emotional freedom allows you to show up fully in your relationships, to give without expecting, to love without fear, and to support others in their own journeys without losing sight of your own. When you live from this place of inner strength, something miraculous happens. You start attracting the people who align with your energy, who mirror your values, and who support your growth. You no longer waste time on relationships that drain you or hold you back. Instead, you build connections with people who encourage you to be your best self, push you to grow, and who celebrate you for who you truly are. These relationships become a source of constant inspiration, motivation, and joy. They are no longer sources of stress or anxiety, but sources of energy and nourishment. The Stoics understood that our connections with others are one of the most important aspects of a fulfilling life. They taught that we should not expect perfection from others, but rather, we should approach each relationship with patience, compassion, and understanding. By doing this, we create a space for others to grow and evolve, just as we are doing for ourselves. In this space, true intimacy is formed. It's not based on superficial attachments or fleeting desires, but on a deep mutual respect and love for each other's humanity. When you operate from this place of understanding, your relationships become a reflection of your own growth, a mirror that shows not just who you are, but who you are becoming. This is the power of building deep relationships. They are not based on what you can get from others, but on what you can give. They are not rooted in need or dependency, but in mutual growth, respect, and love. When you build relationships from this foundation, they become transformative forces in your life, helping you become the person you were always meant to be. They lift you higher, challenge you, support you, and encourage you to step into the fullness of your own potential. And as you continue to grow, your relationships will grow with you, becoming deeper, richer, and more meaningful with each passing day. This is the path to true fulfillment, a life filled with relationships that are not only powerful but also transformative, both for you and for those you connect with. As you step deeper into this space of self-awareness and emotional freedom, you realize that the relationships that matter most aren't necessarily the ones that demand constant attention, but the ones that allow both people to breathe. To truly grow, you must release the need for perfection in yourself and others. You stop searching for flaws to fix or trying to meet unrealistic standards. Instead, you begin to embrace the beauty of imperfection, both in yourself and those you connect with. This acceptance becomes the foundation for real love, real trust, and real growth. You understand that it's okay to not have all the answers, to not always be in control, or to show up as a perfect version of yourself. In fact, it's in those moments of vulnerability, when you can admit your weaknesses and your struggles, that your relationships grow even stronger. By embracing your humanity, you make space for others to do the same. This creates a profound shift in how you view relationships. They are no longer about how much you can get from someone or what you need them to give you. Instead, they become a sacred space where both people can show up as their authentic selves, without fear of judgment or rejection. There is freedom in this. The pressure to perform, to fit into molds that society or even your own expectations have created, starts to dissolve. And in its place is a beautiful simplicity, a connection that is based on mutual understanding, compassion, and respect. This transformation extends beyond romantic relationships. It touches every aspect of your life, your friendships, your family, your professional relationships. As you shift your focus inward, you stop relying on others to validate you or fulfill your needs. You no longer see people as a means to an end, but as companions on a shared journey. You approach every relationship with the same mindset of growth and understanding. You no longer look for ways to fix people or make them behave the way you want them to. Instead, you meet them where they are and create space for them to grow in their own way at their own pace. You begin to realize that when you stop expecting others to meet your emotional needs, you give them the freedom to be themselves. You stop trying to control them, and instead, you trust them to show up as they are. This trust allows for deep emotional connection and mutual support. It's no longer about what you can take from the relationship, it's about what you can both give. When both people are willing to show up authentically, without masks or pretenses, something magical happens. You create a space where vulnerability and honesty can flourish. It's in this space that real love, respect, and connection can be nurtured. The Stoics taught us that we can't control the actions of others, but we can control our own responses. This wisdom is key when it comes to building relationships that last. Instead of trying to change others or force them into your idea of what they should be, you learn to accept them as they are. You release the need for control and instead embrace the flow of life, trusting that everything will unfold as it should. This is true freedom, the freedom to love, the freedom to let go, and the freedom to just be. As you build relationships from this place of inner peace, you realize that they are no longer based on fear, need, or dependency. They are based on mutual respect, trust, and a shared commitment to personal growth. You stop holding on so tightly, trying to force things to fit, and instead, you allow relationships to breathe, to evolve, and to grow naturally. When you let go of control, you create space for real connection. And it's this connection that allows you to become the best version of yourself, a version that attracts more of the same, people who are not afraid to show up as their true selves, who bring value, love, and support into your life. In the end, it's not about how many relationships you have, but the depth of those relationships. It's not about being surrounded by people, but being surrounded by the right people. Those who encourage you to grow, challenge you to become better, and support you through every step of your journey. These are the relationships that last. These are the relationships that make life truly meaningful. And when you learn to approach each connection from a place of emotional independence, clarity, and authenticity, you create the foundation for a life full of these kinds of relationships, ones that are not just surviving but thriving. As you continue this journey, you begin to realize that true strength doesn't come from external achievements or accolades. It comes from the ability to be vulnerable and honest, to allow yourself to be seen for who you truly are, without fear or shame. This realization brings a deep sense of peace. You no longer feel the need to hide behind masks or perform for others. Instead, you stand tall in your authenticity, knowing that the right people will see and appreciate you for the real person you are. This inner freedom becomes your foundation, and it's from this place that your relationships begin to flourish. The beauty of this transformation lies in the shift of perspective. Relationships are no longer about what you can extract from them, or about the approval you seek from others. They become about the energy you give, and the space you create for others to be their true selves. You stop focusing on what you can take, and instead, you focus on what you can offer. This shift is not about self-sacrifice, it's about creating a dynamic of mutual growth. When you enter a relationship with this mindset, you attract people who also want to give, people who understand that the best relationships are built on a foundation of self-respect, trust, and vulnerability. The more you cultivate this mindset, the more you begin to notice how much stronger and deeper your relationships become. No longer are they surface-level interactions or transactional exchanges. They become profound connections that feed both your soul and the souls of those you connect with. The Stoics taught us that our relationships are a reflection of who we are at our core. When you start showing up as your true self, the right relationships naturally gravitate toward you. You no longer need to chase after love, approval, or attention. These things flow to you effortlessly when you are grounded in your own self-worth and authenticity. This deep connection with others also allows you to heal. As you open yourself to others, you open yourself to healing.